Welcome to another segment of the Infinite Women Success Summit. We are here with the amazing Beth Silver, and she is a longtime entrepreneur, and she's going to talk to us about positioning yourself through GPS. So, Beth, can you tell everyone who you are and let's get down to business?
So my name is Beth Silver. I am the managing director of Debate Consulting. I'm a marketing strategist and a publicist for entrepreneurs and small businesses. So basically what I try to do is help business owners figure out how to get from plan A to plan B without getting overwhelmed and not knowing what to do.
And see, you have all of these amazing strategies. I mean, you have ebooks, you have the global positioning system, which we all think about when we're trying to get somewhere. And so as me and you were talking about how best to position yourself, a lot of us know what we want. We kind of talk ourselves out of it because we think, oh, maybe that, the task is too great or we don't know how to do it. But essentially we kind of do. We just kind of need the accountability. We need the steps. Sometimes we need it broken down. So what do you think is the best strategy for determining how to get to where you're trying to go?
I think the number one thing that I always look at for my clients, and I try to have my clients take a look at themselves, is to be their own target advocate, to advocate on behalf of their customers and where they want to be. Because if you don't look at yourself from the end user and how you got there from the beginning, from the end to the beginning, it's like an index, you're not going to get to where you want to be. And when I talk about a global positioning system, is really is, look, you want to sell a product and you may not have $1 million, but how are you going to get where you want to go? And is it attainable? And the answer is yes, it's very attainable and not as hard as you think. Is it scary? It doesn't have to be. And for 20 odd years, I guess now, I've been positioning my company as a target advocate. We look at our clients' businesses, whether they be entrepreneurs or whether they be actual products and services, from that position of the customer and their experience, and we kind of go from there. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
It actually is, because I think, when we're trying to advocate for ourselves, we overcomplicate things. We make it way much bigger than it needs to be. And you said literally just position yourself.
Right. And you can, small business owners, entrepreneurs, individuals, whatever you do, you can leverage your brand or who you are without breaking, your bank account, without breaking your budget. And, the first thing I always tell people is have a plan, establish your goals, know what you want to achieve, determine, what is it that you want to be, and by understanding what you hope to accomplish, that's the first step. And you don't need a business plan, get a napkin, start simple. Start simple.
I absolutely agree. Today I was sitting here thinking, I'm like, okay, I'm 3 years in, and I realized I never had a message from the beginning. I knew that I wanted to help people. I knew I wanted people to be successful. I knew I wanted people to understand that they were leaders. But, when everybody's like, have your message, have your 30-minute elevator pitch, I never had that. And when you don't have that established, and like you said, if somebody would have told me to write it on a napkin, that would have made sense to me, because you're telling me to create this elaborate plan, and I'm like, I don't have all the pieces yet. I can't do that. And so therefore I did nothing. And then you realize that if you simplify, just bring it back and just start from the napkin, then you can grow from there.
Right. And you didn't do nothing. You did something. Not doing something is doing something. But what you're doing is you're determining how to best position yourself. How do you want your audience to perceive you? How do you want to distinguish yourself from your competitors? Is it quality? Is it cost? Is it expertise? Does the public view you in the same way that you view yourself? And a funny story is I've been doing PR for over 20 years, and I never positioned myself as a publicist until a couple of months ago. I always did PR for people, but until a couple of months ago, I realized I got 2 clients on television and 1 in the New York Post. And I realized at that moment, I'm a publicist. I can't hide it. And it's nothing bad with it, but so that's where my messaging was I'm a marketing strategist and a publicist for small businesses. Just determine what is the best way to be you and be authentic.
Yes.
Someone asked me the other day, they looked at my website and they're like, I have the color red in it. And they said, red isn't good. And I said, okay, and it's very New York. And I looked at them and I said, I'm very New York. You can't take that away from me. And red is bold, and I'm pretty bold. So instead of, I'm embracing, what I've been embracing for years, which is I am who I am. And that's what you need to do as well.
I love that you said bold, because you said distinction. And that is a word that I think goes with authenticity that a lot of people are missing. I hate this world where everybody's competing or even copying each other. They have a brand. They have, they are who they are. And then they get on social media and they're influenced by others, and then they're not authentic anymore. And then what they're doing is not working because they're copying somebody instead of, being distinct on who they are and what they do, because we do different things because that's what people need. They don't need everybody to do the same thing.
And what people need is so unique. Also, people may not want me because I am too bold. I am too honest. I am too creative. I do go in, 110%. My clients know what you get with me. And sometimes it's too much.
Yeah.
And other times, I'm often hired because I give people the energy to want to really get what they want done. And that's where I say, organize and prioritize your messaging. Maybe in the beginning, and I have to say this, when I started my business, being bold was not my first message. My first message was, I'm a good marketer, I'm responsible, which is not the right messaging. But then I read this book called Discover Your Strengths, Strength Finders 2.0. And it's a great book for any entrepreneur or anyone who's kind of stuck in the business, of what their next job should be. Because what they did was they interviewed highly successful entrepreneurs, because highly successful entrepreneurs do what they feel comfortable. They follow their strengths and then they supplement their weaknesses. And what I learned was that I'm strategic. I'm a communicator. I'm a relator. I can woo people to come with me, and I'm responsible. And if you notice, responsible was the fifth thing. But in my first messaging, when I started my business, it was the first. So I immediately was like, oh, I'm a strategist. Oh, and then I stopped and I said, yeah, that's exactly what I am. Everything in my life and how my brain works, how my eyes see things, is a strategy from A to Z. Being a target advocate, what's the strategy of going backwards to help my business so that my customer is happy? And the GPS, you're putting in 2 locations, in Waze or in Zoom or whatever. How do you get there? Most people start from where you're going. I start from where you are arriving, and I go backwards. And by being able to organize and prioritize, you're also putting the most significant facts about your company. Does it bear out in your positioning? Is your message newsworthy? Do people care other than you? I love telling a client, that's really great, but nobody's going to pick it up. No, they don't want to hear it from me, but it's true. And then knowing where you are, your customers, can then figure out why they should choose you and what they should do. And it's an evolution. So, and that's it. We're all growing. Every business is growing and adapting. So that's important.
It absolutely is. And so I was taking notes because you said responsible. And I think that's something we forget about. One of the things that I like about you is that you are bold. But what we have to realize is everybody's not ready. And that's, I think, where people fail. When people try to hire coaches and strategists and consultants, a lot of times they try to hire somebody and they don't look at their attributes. They don't look at their strengths. You have to find somebody that you can work with, because otherwise it's not gonna work. Or you find somebody you hire somebody when you're not ready, and they're giving you the tools and you're not ready to be responsible or accountable, or you're afraid, or you don't have the level of confidence. And so therefore it's not synced.
Right. And to your point, I always look at, how you get the word out? Is it proactive or reactive? Knowing who you are. When I'm often hired, I always say, what is it that you want me to do? Do you want me to teach you? Do you want me to do it for you? Do you want me to do a little bit of both? What's the point? Because my goal is not to take away. My goal is to make an entrepreneur stronger. And I think, the first thing that I love to do is, when we conduct a SWOT analysis, analyzing, yourself as well as your business's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, your threats, and are your vehicles for your business, your services, your product, your marketing, is it communicating your business in the way you want it to be? Because this is not, it's not brain surgery. Marketing is not hard, but positioning yourself, also getting out of your own way. As I was redoing my website, I was trying to find a visual to show people what I do. And a friend of mine said, you know what would be great if you had origami. Like origami's great because you're building something from one thing. And I kind of looked at them on the phone and said, that's brilliant, because that's what I do.
Yep.
I take a business and then I refold it into exactly the same thing, but it just looks a little better. And that's what you need to look at, those, business essentials, and really look at who you are and how to position yourself that way.
And I think that's true, because you break it on down. And I think that's what everybody needs. Everybody kind of needs it broken down. Everybody's in this world where it's like right now, figure it out. And like you said, it is not brain science. But when you have somebody that can literally take the pieces apart, and in psychology, marketing is psychology, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. We need to be doing that whether we're in business or not, because at the end of the day, if we are working in our comfort zone, like you said, we do what's comfortable, then it's effortless, and then we can be successful. What we have to stop doing is stop trying to avoid, what we know. As entrepreneurs, the key is being the authority in something. And I think that's what a lot of people are missing. They're not, they're working in areas that they're not familiar with, and they're afraid to outsource for people who are strong in those areas. But like you said, it's a matter of complementing. When you're working with somebody, you're finding out, what do you want me to do? Because I think there's an assumption there. But I was reading, the different kinds of coaching and the different kinds of consulting. You have to figure out, do you want somebody to do it for you? Do you want somebody to teach you how to do it? There are huge differences. And I think when we're able to kind of set the tone from the very beginning, I think it leads us to, on a successful path.
Yes, and I think you also have to look at, who you are. As much as I, would love to do different things. Interestingly enough, a year ago, I looked at the business processes of my own business, of what I love to do and what I didn't love to do, and I really optimized my finances, my operations, my contracts, because I knew it was weak, but I didn't realize how weak it was and not helping me. And today, my clients are bigger. They are paying more. They're buying more. It's not so much they're paying more, but they're buying more services. It's a much different experience. And I looked at who I am. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a friend. I have passions. I've always worked in educational marketing. I do a lot in that. I'm a special needs mother. I look at and use that understanding and talent of what I've learned from my own family within my business. So, when a client calls and says, I need to do this, then I'm able to go, oh, have we considered schools? Have we discovered how COVID is doing this? And that's the point, is looking at the world around me. I live in New York City. We're not really going anywhere. We're in our apartment. So I think in that way is understanding that, when I started my business, I worked alone at home, and now I have coworkers who are working in different fields in my apartment, so understanding all of that. And I've incorporated that in my business. I really look at, my clients know this is how my work situation is. This is who my family is. This is how my work is. And I choose clients and projects that I like and I'm attached to, because that when I'm being a target advocate for my own business, I'm looking and how I want to position my business, which is often the biggest thing that people don't do, is look at your own business as a business. Could you be a client of yourself? How much time do you invest in that? Because I actually have now taken myself and made myself a client, and I've redone my website. I changed my messaging. I updated my logo because people were making mistakes when they were writing me checks. I wasn't clear enough on my logo and they were making mistakes. So little things that I took for granted for years has just streamlined. So design matters, statistics and metrics matter, referrals matter, like all that stuff. But as I'm talking to you, I haven't spent money on advertising. I haven't talked about the big ad. These are things that you can really create out of yourself, looking at your networking, looking at your referrals, looking at your stuff, to the point where people come to you when they have questions. People, my moniker on Instagram is Beth Would Know. And it started as a joke.
Yep.
Because when in question, people would call me and they would like, Beth Would Know. and I joked about it for so many years. And then finally, I was talking to a social media expert, Emily Raber, and Emily goes, Beth, this is it. And she was right. And within 2 seconds, boom. And then I looked at what she taught me about Instagram. And then I was like, oh, I should use this learning for my website, not just for Instagram. And that, so look at stuff that brings you joy and helps you with your business, because there's no reason you can't market yourself or your business effectively without looking at who you are, where you are now and where you want to go, and break it up. You're not going to get there if you look at the marathon. You're never going to go to a marathon if you can't run to the block. So you have to look at the block and the this and the that, and it makes it so much more easy. It's easier. It's fun.
Yes, it is. So can you break down the 6 steps? It was 6 steps, right?
I don't know how many steps it was.
Okay,
but
give us some steps,
okay.
and then
So,
and
I don't know how many
the
steps.
Worksheet as well.
I don't know how many steps there are, but let's see. The first thing would be have a plan.
Yep.
Then determine how best to position yourself. Then organize and prioritize your messaging. Then how are you going to get the word out? And that is by, conducting a SWOT. Then be, a target advocate for yourself. Look at your design, look at your metrics. And I think the last tip really is go have fun. If you don't have fun, this is not meant to be.
Truth. Because I think a lot of people, they get so overwhelmed that it's no longer fun. And, I woke up recently, actually in the last 2 weeks since we started this summit, I haven't slept. Like I wake up at like 4:30, 5 o'clock, and I'm bouncing out of bed because I'm excited. I'm like, I got all these ideas, and I'm like, let's do it. And that's what it should be, because when you do what you love, it's not work.
And also it's a lot of fun. And look, not every day is going to be great, but you also have to know, I made a mistake last week, a pretty big mistake. And when I first started my business, I would have been in my bed, but this time, 20 years later, I was like, okay, this is how you fix it. Yeah. So, and my client understood it, said, okay, but I learned about myself. You got to slow down. You need to make sure that your support system is in place. You can't do everything at the same time. And that's the point. So it also shows that, your goals are going to change, where your ending is going to change. This is not a start to end. Like, your global positioning is never in one place. You're moving. You're like a satellite. You're going to keep on going. So, it's infinite. And that's the point. You just have to break it down and figure it out, and go slow. You're not going to, you go slow.
I love that, because you said it's evolutionary. And I think, we have to make sure that our expectations are in check, because a lot of times when we start this process, we have a goal in mind, but we don't realize that goal is going to shift and it's going to change. And that, so is the market, so is the needs. And we have to be able to change with it.
100%. I think, if this time hasn't taught us that, it's that everyone is connected and everything is going to change and nothing is certain. And, it's funny, when I was redoing my website, I needed pictures. And I happened to have used pictures of a day where a photographer was having, it was when those black and white photos of women were on Instagram. Mm-hmm. And she was doing a socially distant shoot for women. And I went to go support her. And my entire site is that photo shoot. It's post-COVID, it's in COVID. But the point is, if you don't look and seize the moment, I wasn't going to get my picture taken. I wasn't, my best. I wore a dress that I would have wore around my house. I walked up to her because I wanted to be supportive with my mask in place. My hair wasn't perfect. Nothing was that. And they're great pictures. So you kind of also have to give yourself a break, that you're never going to be. It's never going to be the right opportunity. It's never going to be perfect. It's never, there's a reason I use this background, which is my real background of my office, because it is structured chaos. It's just the way it is. And, it's not bad. It's my life. Yep. And that's where, look, I could put up a fake background but then I move and it's not me. So, but this is the brand. I'm going to take you where you need to go. And that's when companies call me, is people call me, start with the napkin, have fun. Just, if you don't love it, you got to stop.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you, and you guys make sure that you download the Be Your Own Global Positioning System worksheet, and you guys will definitely see more from Beth. And thank you so much, Beth.
Thank you.